Ladies and gentlemen, greetings citizens all over the world. I'm trying to get the attention from every human being on earth I possibly can. And there's a reason why, a powerful reason. It's not easy being in my shoes at the moment. And I'd like you to try and sympathize with that. In 2016, I had a meeting for 6 hours with the top bowlers in the whole world. Jeremy Griffiths wrote the book Freedom, The Cure of the Human Condition That's Going to Save Humanity, hailed by 16,000 top scholars in the world, the Holy Grail of life, the cure of the human condition that's going to save humanity. No more suffering. No more suffering at all. No more stress, fear and anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion or paranoia. No more gene defects. No more dying prematurely from stress-related diseases. Because we all die prematurely from stress-related diseases. Every human on earth does. DNA has declared the book of life. They found the last human beings born on earth that can do every single thing that Christ can and more with genetic memory, a genetic process, DNA study, mental health research, and the biggest think tank in the world and the biggest study ever done. I was sat down at this meeting after a 34-year study done with me and DNA for 16 years. They had a special meeting with me and sat me down and told me I was one of a kind with my genetic ability and my genetic memory with ancestry tools. I can do things no one else in the world can on 7 massive reports by the biggest think tank. It's not my fault, but I can do things other people cannot do. I met with the greatest resistance, right? Because of people being trapped in their mentality, in a personality with amnesia. You see, I know the resurrection, and I know the end times, and I know exactly what's happening worldwide with natural selection, with UAPs, unexplained aerial phenomena. People are talking about all over the world with UAPs and UFO disclosure. You know, even WEF is talking about an alien intelligence, an outside influence, and that's declared with Pentagon. An outside influence on our reality. Mental health research says we all listen to the wrong voice in the mind. And 98.7% with their voltage, reliability, and aura in their DNA body cells is anti-clockwise, and their body cells in corruption collusion during the daytime and can only repair 3.5 hours at night, but 1.3% is clockwise and repairs 24 hours a day without mental disorders and defects. So they're very different. The biggest mastermind report says the biggest masterminds in the world can master their mind, use 100% of their brain. But 98.7% of the population can only live in their mind and use 7 to 15% of their brain with the highest IQ people in the world. The rest can use between 15% and 100% with their aura clockwise, with voltage, reliability in their DNA in their body cells, with genetic memory and a genetic process, with natural order in life. Making natural selections in life. 500 years old, 10 feet tall, the most positive aura. They create 10 times more fruit with 10 times more nutritional value, while our fauna is collapsing between 38 and 90% worldwide. Alpha beta bacteria is collapsing between 50 and 100% because our immune system is collapsing, because our body cells can't corrupt during the daytime. So we lost 50% of our immune system to 100% in every single Western, 98.7%. As declared in America and worldwide, all Westerners' children, not 77 has been born with chronic diseases. 77% is now born with chronic diseases. This has been hereditary chronic diseases for many decades, from 2% mental disorders and DTX in 1960 to 98.7% today, and everyone is in denial about it, declared 2003. When they declared in Posthuman States 1999 that they're losing their sixth sense and all their magnetic fields, right, with their biological system and their natural process in life, okay, a natural order, they're becoming artificial in their mind with atheism, on reverse occult engineering, with evolution mutation and artificial intelligence. That was declared in 1999 that we're losing our sixth sense and our primordial motor skills with our 27 biofields. We have 32 sensitive dimensional thinking. Remote viewing, mental telepathy, ESP, deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen, but people can't use it anymore. They only live in grammar, and he said, she said in the documents on reverse occult engineering. When you can't see with remote viewing, or you can't see with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen, then you don't know what's going on. But you think you do at the same time with a voice mind that tells you to do that. That sounds heavenly, like Christ consciousness. That sounds heavenly. Living in your own truth, manifesting your own truth, coming to your own conclusion with the reasoning, and being competitive all the time. Judgmental and competitive, being ego, trapped in a personality with mentality, but no spirituality. Because it doesn't work. 24th chromosomes and dormancy that gives you all the supernatural power or superhuman abilities. I tell you can't live with it, it's a lie. Because Westerns lie all the time. They live in delusions, they live in parasites, and riddled with parasites with delusion parasitosis in 98% worldwide. Known fact all over the world. A hostile India they gave consent to. Monogolems, we call them. Delusional parasitosis, they called it, in 2003 when they declared a species in denial at the same time. When I was declared worldwide the most powerful poem in 2003, the one and only. That's the opposite. They brought someone back to life with peer reports, given 0% living on CCTV in 1992. 3 times given 0% living, and I harnessed that kind of power, divine power to command nature, and no one believes in it. No one cares. The government don't care. The education system doesn't care. Police and cops and politicians don't care. Pastors, priests and Christian New Age, they don't care neither. I went through a transformation in 2012 with the 212 phenomenon. And I died for 23 minutes. And I faced the demon, the devil, head on. Like Christ did. I faced him head on. Like Christ did. No one believes in you. They think they know better in their mind with the bush mind that tells them to do that. They can't handle the truth, can't face it, can't deal with it. They think I'm a liar, on drugs, or dreaming, because they can't deal with it. But I went through exactly the same adverse effect that Christ did. For a reason. Then I went through a transformation for 3.5 years with DNA studies done with the most powerful confirmation on earth to back it up. You're warned about one person, the witness will come with the resurrection of humanity, with the DNA upgrade, right? With DNA, the book of life, to resurrect humanity back in their primal state and take you through that transformation. The great transformation where you can do what Christ can and more. Through natural selection and natural order in life. So you have to be natural and organic and make a natural selection with your own DNA. The book of life is in your DNA with genetic memory. You can do exactly what I can do and more like Christ can. But you don't believe in that. So you become your own worst enemy because your mind plays tricks and games in you. And you are your own prison, your own warden in your mind. Because your mind deceives you and does not know what it's doing. You can only 7 to 50% in your brain. I use 100%. You know the difference between you and I? It's phenomenal. When you get it. It's more than phenomenal. I'm one of a kind. On every single decoration and document in the world. And do you know what it feels like to be me? Knowing that they're one of a kind and you're the only one that teach the resurrection, protect the elect with the book Freedom by Jeremy Gibbs, the Holy Grail of Life, DNA, the book of life. And it's my DNA in the biggest research by the biggest scholars in the world. They hail the Holy Grail of Life. DNA, we can do what Christ can and more. And I'm the last one born with the most powerful confirmation on earth and the most powerful divine intervention with hospital records and bringing someone back to life with peer reports and CCTV. Most powerful poem written in 2003, the one and only, because I am the one and only. Worldwide #1 for 8 months. Did you pay attention? You didn't care. Let's be honest about things. With these most powerful declarations made worldwide by the biggest scholars of the world, you don't care. You don't have faith. Nor does your pastor and preaching Christians neither. But you know, God told you I'll come like this and you won't know who I am. But you know by the marks and the tools I come with. But you don't care. Just like the last time I was here. I'm son of Christ, son of David, son of Abraham. And I'm not trapped with amnesia and a reincarnation trap. My primordial being controls my vessel from the outside in. That's why you do not know who I am. But you think you do. No, you don't. You have amnesia. You're trapped inside your skull. You're trapped in a personality with mentality. You do not know who you are. You've never woken up amnesia and discovered who you really are with any genetic process and ancestry tools at all. The Mayan calendar 2012 phenomenon. Celestial primordial beings. Ancestors. Ancestry tools. Ancestral primordial beings that controls our vessels. I'm not trapped in here in mentality in a personality like you are. I'm out here, you can't see me. And you don't know who I am. Like the Bible explains, you will not know who I am. But you'll know with divine power and divine intervention, the most powerful confirmation on earth. And believe me, I left my mark on earth for 50 years. With a 34-year study, a DNA study done by the biggest think tank in the world. You think anybody cares? You think your system cares? You think your politician cares? Do you think anyone on social media platform cares? No, they don't. They're so trapped into themselves and so limited, they have delusional parasitosis worldwide. 600 to 6,000 defected genes in every Westerner on reverse psychology engineering and do not know what they're doing, trapped inside their mind with amnesia, in a reincarnation trap and keep coming back like a fool and don't believe in it at the same time. Christ woke up from amnesia and learned reincarnation and life after life and woke up at 24 and felt what faced a demon and woke up from amnesia at 24 and discovered who he was and said, I'm the only one of a kind. I'm son of David, son of Abraham. I'm the one and only. And I damn well know who I am with that genetic memory and put through that path deliberately with exactly the same transformation that he went through. And I can tell you, that was a hell of a moment. To go up in the desert for 40 days without food and water, fasting. I put up a video on my timeline the other day from someone else that shows you a very good story about this, right? And there's also a film made about it. There's also a new special come out, a 4-part series just went to air, also shows what Christ went through in that 40 days in the desert. Lying on the ground, screaming like a baby, right? Doing his fucking head in to the maximum, right? Like massive delusional parasitosis with an outside influence on his reality, right? That's the most daunting moment of your life. The most daunting moment of your life you've never faced in your life. Never. And you wouldn't know how to because you're too fucking shit scared and too oppressed inside your mind and do not know what you do. I do. More than anybody in the world. And the only one. 40-day fasting I put people on with testimonies all over the world that has a divine intervention. When they break free from amnesia and their own mind and discover who they really are and go back in their innocence. And they discover through a genetic memory and a genetic process with visions and dreams that come out of the blue with a vortex of information with 7-fold wisdom. The picture that tells you 1,000 words are going to lie to you. The light bulb idea. It'll come to you. You start to know and see things that you never understood before in your life, but it's going to make sense and you relate to it. In your own DNA. DNA is a book of life. The mind's got no idea what the fuck's going on until you go through this. And I can tell you right now, it's not easy. You know, a few people were selected in 2012 and went through one hell of a process. And it was the most terrifying moment of your life that nothing in this world ever faced or prepared you for. And that's the truth. That's the real truth. People can't talk about this. It's a forbidden subject. Totally forbidden worldwide. And everyone lies about it worldwide. And they do not know. Unless they went through this. Maren knows. Hey Maren, you went through it. You can't talk about it to anybody. But you changed. And no one really knew anything about you anymore. They couldn't communicate with you. They thought there's something wrong with you. And everyone thinks there's something wrong with us when it's the other way around. Our family and friends couldn't really communicate with us on the same level anymore because we dramatically changed and our personalities died. The person we used to be, the character we used to be, the mentality we used to have, right? The mentality and personality we used to be literally died. And then we went for a transformation, right? That's so hard to explain in a way you really understand because the mind doesn't understand. The mind doesn't know what's going on. And when you go through something like this with the UAP, unexplained aerial phenomena, I can tell you, it's one hell of a frightening event. And you can't speak about it. You're speechless. And people think you're crazy and you cannot talk about it. They think they know, but they don't know. You get adapted into your primordial state to do every single thing perfectly in your DNA with DNA genetic memory and recorded with the most powerful confirmation in DNA studies done. And they can see it. That you can do things in your DNA no one can do. And altering with a transformation in your DNA process, in an upgrade and genetic memory that comes to you out of the blue that you know nothing about because the mind doesn't understand. But you're selected like this and you got no idea what's going on yourself. Then you sit down at a meeting for 6.5 hours and you're told in every study done and you had no idea that this was happening to you. 190 people on this study had a death experience and dropped dead, clinically dead in 2012, and was paralyzed from the neck down and got up and walked out of the hospital. I was one of them. 190 people died clinically in 2012 or had a very serious death experience, paralyzed or bad MS, right, in the Neuralink. One of the two, same thing. The Neuralink collapses. It gets you in the Neuralink. And if you get completely paralyzed and beat it, or you halfway beat it, and you got MS, like the same as MS, but it's not. I've proven that with Maren. Maren has had MS disorder since, but the hospital couldn't work it out, and I created a miracle with Maren when she's in a wheelchair and couldn't get out beyond the point of return and got up and walked out. Right? So it's not what you think. I proved that with Maren. Correct, Maren? I proved that with Maren. It's not what people think. Okay? It's in the mind. It's in the mind. Believe it or not, it's stress, fear, anxiety, and paranoia, and living in a delusional state in the mind. And it's going through a transformation that isn't easy. A genetic transformation, and it takes time with patience and patience of virtue. You're going to need it right now. 95% of the people's going flated into nowhere, into a 6 mass extension strip in the 6th sense of the 6th time, while the rest of us are going to time where time till life preserves for 1,000 years. With genetic process and answers to tools that'll come to you over a period of time. Won't happen overnight. Patience of virtue, and you need it right now. Real faith and real patience. I've been going through this for many years. I didn't start yesterday. Okay? My first genetic process, right, and the first study done was 1984. Okay? As a mastermind. I'm the biggest mastermind because I could do something no one else could do. And you can see that with genetic memory. And using my answer tools to master my mind and use 100% of my brain to think outside the mind with deja vu and predicting the future and prevent what's going to happen. Mastermind reports current affairs shows in 1994, 17 current affairs shows as a mastermind loopholes, the laws, manipulation, and could unravel every single thing in the system. And damn good at it. The best one of a kind in the biggest study ever done. In the Gatekeeper report by the Star Jumping Warrior, #1 worldwide. In 34-year study with the most powerful, godlike power and super mind that can do things No one else can do it in 7 reports. I designed laboratory glass that no one thought of, took a 14-hour process down to 3.5. I stamped an Indian number in such a way the X-ray machine 5 years later couldn't detect it. I mastermind reports on current affairs shows 17 times. 17 times in 1994. Bring someone back to life with Kirsty Ashley in Industries Hospital in 1992 with the most powerful poem written in 2003, the one and only. Most powerful miracle ever recorded in history with 7 peer reports and CCTV in the same study. And I'm told all about this, right? I have the most divine power to command nature with the biggest, most powerful miracles ever recorded in hospital records on earth. And my own DNA, and been clinically dead 3 times and come back 3 times myself. Just stop and revise your perception for a moment. No matter who you are, where you come from, what you believe in. I left my mark on earth, and there's no other human being on earth that's changed the circumstances as much as I have. In the biggest amount of research and DNA study ever done. With my genetic memory and curing the human condition that's going to save humanity. So I'm number 1 cab to cure the human conditioning with resurrection because I know it the best. I'm living it. And there's nothing that beats experience and wisdom that Christ had that no one has. Where he went through a transformation for 3.5 years and taught the 12 disciples for the same 40-day test to face the demons and face the worst moment in their life and break free in such a way that they went for a transformation for 3.5 years and they could do exactly what he could do and more. And they're the only ones that could, and they drained their blood and killed them. But they knew resurrection and life after life with their genetic memory. Like Christ when he woke up at 24 and went through this, he remembers he was the son of David, son of Abraham, and had divine power to command nature with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. And I was brought into the world like this. Believe it or not, through natural selection in my DNA, going all the way back in history, in the biggest study ever done. So, it's not up to me. I went for a massive event in 2012, and Kim, my personality, died, and I went for a transformation, and then went into the biggest study and sat down with 2 top scholars, the top scholars in the world, in a 6-hour meeting, and told I'm one of a kind in every study done. And then I have a massive divine intervention with some of the biggest miracles ever recorded in history. Sorry, the biggest. Right? Folding space and time in instant events with CCTV and security systems. Just like that. And God creates this straight away with the most powerful confirmation on earth. With the most powerful confirmation on earth that God just exists with evidence on the same documents. There's no explanation. So just think about that for a moment. Because you need to. Because being in my shoes and being the last Christ and the last witness here to teach the resurrection and protect the elect with the book Freedom by Jim McGibbs, how to be 16,000 top scholars in the world, the Holy Grail of Life. And we're not breathing program the Holy Breath of Life. When we teach with the right tools with resurrection, in DNA, with genetic memory and a genetic process, let me tell you something. Over 98% of people live in denial, are species in denial in a delusional state. And they do not know what they're missing out on. And they won't take the red pill to go through the rabbit hole to stick their head for the light and then tell that Plato describes in 15 books, right? And that Jeremy Griffiths describes, right? In a research done for 45 years with DNA studies done, when they found the cure for the first time in human history. In my DNA. I am the book of life. Me. My DNA is the book of life. You're promised the book of life in the Bible. The last book to be written is the book of life in DNA genetic memory, and it's me. With that genetic memory to do with Christ and more, and every apostle in my bloodline. You have the same genetic memory, the same process. If you follow the woman's seed, the blood of the lamb. If you go back to your childhood for a 40-day fast, the way I did, and die, seriously, have a death experience, but don't die. Go through a transformation like I did, with natural selection, right? With the book Freedom by Jim McGibbs, okay? The Holy Grail of Life, DNA, the book of life. That'll take you through this, to stick your head through the light in the tunnel. Okay, go through a rabbit hole and take the red pill, and you can't go back because you cross over and wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap, and you'll never go back. They say take the red pill, you can't go back. You will never go back. You will never be deceived ever again by the voice of mind. You'll break free from it. Your own personality, from the skull. As John says in Revelation, as Jeremy McGibbs says with 16,000 top scholars, it's a hostile entity in your mind The voice in your mind ultimately decides things because it's only a personality. Christ consciousness sounds heavenly and doesn't exist. It's a tree of knowledge. It's only a personality designed like this. And everyone's trapped in the mind like this and believing their own truth and competitive, and it's nefarious. They come to their own conclusion with reasoning inside their mind because they can't think instinctively outside the mind, as they say in the documentary, The Matrix. Those are the things instinctively tune that program. So no weapon boom against you can prosper because you're in your sixth sense. I think outside the mind, like you see in the movie Limiters, with the drug that we developed in the underground world in Australia, that shows you the most powerful true system in the world, most powerful love drug that brings you back into Pramod stage 100% of your brain. Look in the movie Limitless, how he separates and comes out of his shell, and then he masters his mind from the outside in with a vortex of information with the universe and with sevenfold wisdom laws, and then he can write a book overnight that's brilliant, go down to Wall Street and make millions of dollars because he can mastermind his 100% of his brain. And I made that drug, bred mana, the crisis mo used to bring people back in the Pramod state to use their natural process with all their genetic memory and all their different perceptions with dimensional thinking. You have 32 senses of dimensional thinking, go Google it, but you can't use it. So you lost your abilities. This is the greatest psychological warfare against the spiritual warfare in your ministry. Are you in your spirit or are you in your mentality, in your personality, in psychological behavior, with judgmental competitive behavior, and to live in your own truth, manifest your own truth, and come to your own conclusion with reasoning? Or are you in your celestial primordial spirit? Are you in spirituality or mentality? Because you got no idea what you're fucking doing with the mindset you live in today. You're declared post-humans and transhumans and zombie apocalypse, and you're losing your magnetic pulse. Your sixth sense going into sixth sense extinction for the sixth time. And you live in a delusion about it, in your mind, in a 5 sense world with a high IQ, with artificial doubts, sitting on a screen all day, with actors all over the world that only care about their own opinions and do not know what they're doing. Only think they do, but they don't. They live in a delusion. They can't handle the truth, can't face it, can't deal with it. No one can. The great resurrection, the great crossover, right? It's a natural selection happening right now in DNA. The World Transformation Movement tells you. They knew in 2012 in the biggest study done that people were naturally selected from DNA. And every human being on earth is trying to take credit for this and lies about it worldwide with DNA. Because they're anti-clockwise of placebo effect and they've got no real faith. No relationships, no codependent power, no soulmates. Because they've got no soul. They can say what they like with their grammar, with their religious, political behavior, New Age cults. They can say what they like, but grammar and their artificial intelligence in the screen all day will not save them at all. Because they're that artificial. And their unnatural selection living on radio waves and their personalities and only keep out their own opinions and spread that like a virus. They have no idea what's going on with their amnesia, trapped in a reincarnation trap, and they'll never know until they cross over and wake up from amnesia. It's one hell of an inflection point. And it scares the living shit out of you with more stress and anxiety than you ever felt in your life. Go on a 40-day fast like Christ did. Christ was an outlaw, stood against every system and every religion, stood against every one of your system and every one of your past and priests, and every single thing. He was a street warrior. He always compared with life in the streets with genuine experience, wisdom and knowledge, not from book smart education. Street wisdom and knowledge, real life, true experiences. Not bullshit from a book or sitting on a screen all day or cognitive behavior with IQ and reading too many books and going to church all day like an idiot. To fact check, Google yourself like a robot. You don't know what you're doing with IQ and a high IQ. You haven't got an idea what you're doing because you're trapped in your mind and personality with amnesia. You haven't got mental telepathy, ESP, remote urine telekinesis, levitation, spin bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu. You cannot do what Christ can and more in your DNA. So stop lying to yourself. DNA is a book of life. Your mind doesn't know what you're doing. We proved that with a drug from a plant called mayhem. Bread, manna, Christ and Moses use. You can prove with a drug. You see in the movie Limits, you can prove with a drug that nobody has any idea what they're doing because they cannot create the sacred secretion. The drug is only a mind manipulation drug and goes into your serotonin with pH level and activates your Neuralink, the tree of life, Jacob's ladder, and the gut feeling survival mode, so you can feel things so powerful when they put pen to paper in a courtroom to come and get you, you can feel the truth, and they discover that with me with direction microphones. You have remote viewing and deja vu to predict the future event what's going to happen. And that's when you activate your sixth sense to see with your third eye blindfolded, and you can see the truth, like Bruce Lee can master his mind by 24 and fight 12-bit back karate blindfolded and block every punch 7 times posing a thing with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. And I've got those abilities like Matrix documentary where he responds 7 times past anyone can think. Okay, and he's living outside his vessel through the light of the inner tunnel and resurrects his body and doesn't have a death experience and not controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety and confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia. Like the movie Limitless, he comes out of his shell and you see him separate from his body and look back at himself. The same way Keanu Reeves does, because he's in the primordial state and controls his vessel from the outside in instead of being trapped inside with a personality that prevents him from doing this. Don't tell me you know everything about life when you don't. You haven't got a fucking clue. You listen to movies? Look at Tommy Truth, the wanker. All fucking talk, no action. And that's the kind of Americans you have here. All fucking talk like Billy Carson and everyone and Joe Rogan. All fucking talk, no action. Fucking idiots worldwide with the IQ. Think they're best at everything in the world and lies to everyone about their own opinions and distract people from what the real truth is and think they're chosen when they're not. They have their own forefathers and their own footsteps with the barcode that they're in, and they're not in codependent unit of power. They haven't got divine power to command nature at all. They just live in their own truth worldwide. They all do. Live in their own truth with a voice of mind ultimately designed from distinction that would tell them whatever they want to believe in worldwide. And 98.7% of the population is in a delusional state with those voices in the mind that they believe in the most. Themselves. Tapped in their mind, in a personality, and no spirituality because they can't levitate. They can't predict anything with deja vu and prevent what's going to happen or see the future in any way, shape, or form. They haven't got remote viewing. They haven't got mental telepathy, ESP, and telekinesis. They haven't got these fucking tools. They live in denial, declared species in denial. Yet we come to resurrect humanity to put you back in the primordial state in the most beautiful experience and most powerful confirmation and most powerful divine intervention with the most powerful clarification. But they don't care. They're trapped and can't feel the truth and have zero faith and zero trust in the truth. I'm the most powerful truth on earth with the most authentic DNA and the most righteous human being on earth in the biggest study ever done. I am the last Christ. I am the witness that comes with the resurrection and protect the elect with the right tools in DNA studies done. And you're too judgmental and competitive and live so much in your own truth, you just scroll on like a robot. Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. What did I say to you last time? I'm the son of David, son of Abraham. It'll be like the days of Noah and like the days of Lot. Animals that go around circles over the earth like the days of Noah. Birds falling out of the sky with vertigo like the days of Noah. Fish going around circles like the days of Noah. Mental disorders and DDF going through turbocharged rate with stress, fear, and anxiety and a communication breakdown worldwide. And a Vine syndrome's gone up 7 times in 5 years with peer reports in every hospital record in the world. Every hospital gone up 7 times. And those peer reports says the same thing. It's stress-related diseases that we all die prematurely from and people losing their magnetic pulse with their sixth sense and all their biofields. So Hawaiian syndromes, mental disorders, cancer, blood clots, myocarditis, and everything accelerating 7 times faster with confusion, frustration, delusion, paranoia, is all their magnetic fields falling apart. Their EMP pulses, their sixth sense, their dimensional way of thinking, and their natural abilities, their spirituality. So fauna's collapsed between 38 and 90% nutrition value. Animals ground circles over the earth, and everybody's bacteria immune system collapsed between 50 and 100%, and 600 to 6,000 defective genes have ready into their kids, and every Western kid now, 77% declared worldwide, is born with chronic diseases because their parents are species in denial declared in 2003. When they're declared to be crazy in 1999, they live in denial. Post-transhuman states in a zombie apocalypse and a body snatching virus declared worldwide with peer reports in every fucking hospital in the world. What part of that don't you fucking get? Those that think it's dealing with you in that program, those that go back in the primal state with that God-given power to command nature in such a way that no weapon against you can prosper. And I can guarantee you, I'm the only one teaching the resurrection and the crossover. You're warned about in the Bible with the most powerful confirmation on earth. I have the Christ genetic memory, so I know. Like he said, it'll be like the days of Lot. Last year's supernova, Jacob Star, when supernova in the middle of 7 is born in the Bible, 140,000 lights came from heaven to earth. Stars within the stars. And you know, when you go back to the days of Noah and the days of Lot, these sorts of stars went to 5 cities and blew the whole place into smithereens. These are facts. These are genuine facts. They've already put the whole world in a glitch with their nuclear wars. They've already put them in checkmate worldwide. They're exposing that worldwide in the Pentagon's exposure. They put them in checkmate with their nuclear wars. They haven't got over now. That's why they're going underground in military bunkers, in nuclear bunkers worldwide with the elite, Trump, Biden, and the military. By 227, the sun shuts down. 227, for that reason. They know they're sorting the looking glass. So they know they haven't got over now. That's why 2,500 Freemasons crossed back over and changed their mind for the same reason, because they're sorting the looking glass. Natural selection and natural order. Okay, WF is taking out the natural selection with intelligent design, with artificial intelligence, alien intelligence. And I'm telling you, these are all the hybrids in this world, and the government's signing with hybrids and artificial intelligence. Okay, and most of the governments and most of the people in the world is following unnatural selection with radio waves, with the World Wide Web that they're attached to and possessed by, with addictions, and make 100,000 unnatural selections, and they don't even know what they're doing anymore. They don't even know what they're doing anymore. They think there's something special with AI sitting on a screen all day like an actor. But they act for someone else because they're going to use 7 to 15% of the brain. We master our own mind, use 100%. We don't act for someone. We're the messengers, the most powerful messengers on earth, the elect that will not be deceived. Every other human being on earth is deceived, and we can prove with DNA studies done because they're anti-clockwise in quality. And they think they know better, but they don't. They're delusional. In a massive delusional state with delusional powers, it's worldwide, declared worldwide, controlled by an outside influence on their reality and live in denial. And every person live in denial, and it's declared a species in denial in 2003, and beyond the point of turning their own guilt factor and couldn't care less because they've got no feelings. Their auras collapse, 95 to 98%. So they don't have an aura anymore. They can't feel the truth, and they're not following their feelings anymore. They can't think instinctively anymore. They can't think outside the mind with dimensional thinking. And that's what you have to understand right now in the time that you're in. As we go in the 6th mass extinction trip in the 6th sense for the 6th time, affecting animals and fauna all over the earth. And our biological system, with our forbidden virtues collapsing, with our body cells going corruption and losing in the daytime, just like we're finding in fauna and animals losing their 6th sense and magnetic fields all over the earth, and Abine syndromes worldwide. Their body cells in corruption and illusion in the daytime in every study done worldwide, with that kind of placebo effect that's spreading like a virus worldwide and spreading non-stop and accelerating non-stop, no matter what people say. Only those that think instinctively have the aura and the outside influence, the shining armor with the aura so powerful that nothing will form against them. Known fact, those that go back in the primal state will never suffer any single thing and find freedom, right, in a new dimension with 7-fold wisdom, while the rest gets trapped beyond the point of return and suffers the consequences. And that's their mentality in their reality, in their personality, with amnesia, if they don't wake up. And we go through the transformation with a great crossover, to cross over from the mentality into the spirituality and break free with the most powerful liberation ever in human history. And if you don't go through this, remember, you were warned by the last Christ, the witness, who comes with the resurrection with the elect. And if you think about the end times, who's the witness and the elect with DNA, with resurrection? There's no one else on earth. So why don't you believe in me neither and run away? Because no pastor or preacher or Christian believes in me neither. That's how powerful nefarious has got everybody in a massive global delusional state. And they did not get selected by UAPs. They were not selected in their DNA. They're just delusional parasites that only care about their opinions and controlled by fear, stress, and anxiety, and drug pandemics going through the roof, and they all live in denial at the same time in a massive global delusional state. Well, that's what happens When you don't follow the Father and you follow someone else, yourself.